Peace and blessings, family. I am now broadcasting live from Windhoek in Namibia. I am at the Heroes Acre. So this is an area of commemoration of the warriors that fought in the Namibian War of Independence, which began on the 26th of August 1966 at the Omugulugwombashe. So today is the 27th of August 2021. So I had a chance today to come and witness this great monument. And this monument commemorates all the fallen soldiers who fought for the independence of Namibian people. So before we get right to the top, at the top there you will see a soldier with a torch and a firearm standing in front of the Tekenu, the so-called obelisk. But first, I will look at some of the people who have been commemorated here. Just quickly see. Alright, I think these may be politicians, I'm not sure if these men are the actual warriors that fought in the War of Independence. I'm not really sure. There's quite a few people. Obviously it's not everybody that died in the war. If there are people that died in the war, because I see Honorable Dr. Chiriange, he died this year in June. So these are some of the people. (1977, 1998, 2017). Okay, these are quite recent people. So I'm not really sure if they participated in the war. I think some of them were too young, like this one, yeah, I think 1952. Perhaps not, depending on how old a soldier could have been at that time or how young they could have been. Alright, so I think you guys get the idea. So now the most interesting part about the Tekenu, or this image, this monument that stands at the top of the hill overlooking the city, Namibia, Windhoek. The interesting thing right here, the symbolism, I don't know if it was deliberate or not, but the Tekenu, which the Greeks called an obelisk. You find them all over ancient Egypt, ancient Kush. You also find one in the Great Zimbabwe Monument, although it varies in form from this one. The one in Great Zimbabwe is called the conical tower. So here we are standing in front of the statue of the so-called unknown soldier. And it says, "Story to the fallen heroes soldiers may have fallen, having fought for freedom, but in the African story, we always speak of life eternal. One does not die, but one transcends to another realm, like the sun. As it rises, the sun is shining on the part of our world, and it has set in another part of the world, and so is the life of a human being in terms of ancient African philosophy. So life is continuous, and the spirit of these warriors lives on. It lives on, Ashe. And these are some of the images from the brutality of the barbarians that invaded Namibia, the Germans. We see the mothers standing strong and holding their children. We see the brothers breaking free from their captivity in agony, rising, not only the man, but fighting along with the women. The African men and the African women fought along together. And so they stood up, as you can see from the image. They were brutalized until they were down, and the child represents the new generation. The mother and child is always a symbol of hope, a symbol of newness, a symbol of resurrection, as we see also in ancient Kemet. The resurrection of Asa is often portrayed with Aset and Herero, Osiris and Horus, for those who are more familiar with the foreign names, and which then became the Black Madonna and Child. And so that new generation being born from there rose up, the men and the women fighting alongside each other. And we can see the Herero woman, the African woman, standing by the side of her man, being the backbone of the strength of the African man. So throughout our struggle against colonialism and apartheid and slavery, the black men and the African women and the African men stood side by side. And because we fought alongside and supported each other, we stood victorious. And we can see now from some of the fruits of the liberation, we can see the beginning of the Renaissance, resembled as portrayed by the men holding a book, which I truly believe that we need a spiritual revolution, and therefore the book represents knowledge of self, and that's what helps us to stand tall and fight for our heritage. People who do not know themselves cannot fight for what belongs to them. They do not know what they deserve, they do not know their value. But because these people knew who they were, knowledge of self, they understood their value. They knew the value of protecting the heritage of their ancestors. They fought and fought, and see them waving the flag of a new dawn. And the flag, within the flag you can see the sun, which is in Africa as a symbol of hope, a symbol of newness, a symbol of power, symbol of resurrection, because even the English word rising from the dead was taken from the African philosophy of the sun, because the African philosophy of resurrection comes from the sun rising and the sun setting, which is death, and the sun coming back again, rising in the east. And so Herero, who was born to ascend in Kemet, just as we see here in this imagery, he was associated with the sun in ancient Kemet. And so it's quite beautiful, and I'm quite surprised, even though this is the first time I've actually seen it. But as I'm going through it, the ancestors are speaking to me, and I can see the symbolism and the sun in the flag that represents resurrection. And here I would already show these images, but it looks to be like a tree, and perhaps the tree meaning if it is a tree, it does look like a tree to me, and the tree also represents resurrection, because crops, a seed goes to the ground and it dies, and a new crop, a new plant. So, ladies and gentlemen, we do not come from a people who have stood by and be beaten and not fight back. So the whole narrative of we are not our ancestors should be eliminated out of our vocabulary, as it is born out of nothing but ignorance of the fact that our ancestors fought. They did not just lie there, and in fact throughout the generations, it is the generation that has least fought for its freedom is actually this generation. But for all past generations since the arrival of the colonialists, barbarians, our ancestors put up resistance right from the beginning until the end. And so when someone says we are not our ancestors, remind them that we ought to be our ancestors and stand up and fight. Just as Bob Marley has said,